Hey, this is Jayanam with a new Blender 2.8 hard surface modeling tutorial in which we are going to create a screwdriver. We start with my favorite object, the default cube. I go to Edit mode and press S to scale it down. I start by modeling the head of the screwdriver. This will be the blade. So I scale it down in Z direction first, then I select this face and then scale this up again in Z direction to create the base shape of the blade. Okay, then I select the face for the tip and scale it down a bit in X direction. You press S followed by X and move the mouse. Alright, now let's create the shank, so we add a cylinder, still in edit mode. Then I press R followed by X and type in 90 to rotate it 90 degrees around the X axis. Again, press S to scale it down and then G followed by Y to move it along the Y axis. Okay, now my goal is to connect both the cylinder and the blade, so I select these two faces, press F3 and search for bridge faces. Alright, and this already looks quite good. Okay, now I want to scale down the cylinder part, and to select it I enable X-ray. Then I press B for box select and select this part. To scale it down, I press the S key. Perhaps move it a bit then to the right by pressing G followed by Y to constrain the movement to the Y axis. Yeah, and then we can select this face and also move it along the Y axis to increase the length of the shank. By the way, I hope this term is correct. Then I duplicate this face by pressing Shift and D. This will be the starting point for the handle, and I want the handle in the end to be a separate object. But first let's optimize the shape of the blade. I select this edge loop and increase the size a bit along the Z axis by pressing S followed by Z. Then adjust the size for the X axis. And then we can add another edge loop by pressing Ctrl and R to make this part appear slightly rounder. I want to flatten the shank just a tiny bit, so I select these edges here and then I press F3 and search for dissolve edges. That looks nice, and I do the same for the back side and also for the right and the left side. Okay, some more adjustments. The blade is a bit too large, so I move this to the left. Yeah, and that's okay. And now I will use my JMesh Tools add-on to make this part appear more crisp. When the add-on is installed, you find it here in the sidebar. You can press the N key to open it, and in the panel JMesh you find the bevel option. It adds a bevel modifier and some auto smoothing, and also increases the mean bevel weight for the sharp edges. You find the link to this free add-on in the description below. These edges here I also want to mark as sharp edges, so I select them and press Sharpen Edges. In the background, the mean bevel weight for these edges is set to 1. The same for these at the back side, and we are done with this part. Okay, now let's create the handle. I go to Edit mode and select this face, and then I press P to turn it into a separate object. Then I switch to Object mode and select this new object. Then go back to Edit mode and double click to select the edge loop. And then we can press the E key to extrude. And each new edge ring that I extrude, I can scale by pressing the S key. And this is the basic modeling technique for the handle, extrude and scale. This part I move a bit to the right by pressing G followed by Y. And to create a kind of border here, we can add another edge loop by pressing Ctrl and the R key, and then move it a tiny bit along the Y-axis to create this effect. Then we can select these edges and press Ctrl and B to add some bevels. For this face I add an inset by pressing the I key and then move it just a little bit to the inside. Another bevel for this edge, and now it looks really sharp and clean. Alright, now select this face and again use the technique of extruding and scaling to create the handle. You see that's pretty simple. To this part I add another bevel so that we have a round end, and you can move the mouse wheel to add more segments to the bevel. Also for this edge I want to have a rounded bevel. And another one for this edge loop. Okay, at the front I want to add a kind of indentation, a part that is thinner. So I go ahead and add 3 edge loops. You can select and move these by pressing G followed by Y, so that they are moved along the Y-axis. And this edge loop I scale down by pressing S, and then I press Ctrl and B to add a bevel. Again I scroll the mouse wheel to add more segments to the bevel. And I think we are almost there. We can move the handle a tiny bit to the left, like that. But the handle is too short in my opinion, so I go again to edit mode, and with X-ray and box select, I select this part and press G to move it to the left to increase the size of the handle. Okay, the last adjustment I make is to decrease the size of the blade in X direction. But that's it. Now you can add a matte cap if you like. Then you can join the two objects. This can be done by pressing Ctrl and J when you have both objects selected. Then move it to the center and set the origin to the 3D cursor, which is at the center. Okay guys, we have a screwdriver. I hope you liked this tutorial. If you do, then don't forget to subscribe and let me know if you have any questions. Add these to the comments. Follow me on my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Support me by being my patron, this would be great. And I'll see you soon in the next one on Jayanam.